From Sherlock Holmes to Agatha Christie, we love a good mystery where the detective uses their powers of observation to solve a crime with seemingly no leads. But what makes a mystery so compelling is the question of how the crime was committed in the first place. How did the perpetrator manage to fool everyone? And, more importantly, how did they almost get away with it? In reality, the idea of the perfect crime has fascinated detectives, storytellers, and criminals alike for centuries. It is the ultimate challenge to commit an act so precise, so carefully calculated, that no one could ever prove who did it. It begins with an understanding of human behavior in the system meant to catch lawbreakers. The people who come closest to pulling it off are not necessarily the most violent or ruthless. They are the most patient. They observe their targets for weeks or months, noting every habit, every weakness, and every predictable moment. They choose locations that work to their advantage, times when security is lax, and methods that leave little to no trace. To them, the crime is not an act of chaos. It is a performance of control. Over the course of history, there are stories of thieves who vanished into the night with millions in jewels. Con artists who manipulated their way into fortunes without anyone realizing they were being robbed. And masterminds who planned elaborate heists so flawless they felt like works of art. In the early stages, these criminals seem unstoppable. There is no obvious evidence, no credible witnesses, and sometimes even no sign that a crime has been committed at all. Investigators find themselves chasing shadows, their leads evaporating almost as soon as they appear. For the criminal, this is the moment of triumph, the feeling that they've done the impossible. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. The smallest slip can bring an entire plan crashing down. Carelessly discarded item, a trace of DNA, a conversation overheard, or a single inconsistency in their story can give detectives the crack they need to break the case. In many near-perfect crimes, the fall comes not from the brilliance of the investigators alone, but from the arrogance of the criminal. Feeling invincible, they grow careless, take unnecessary risks, or strike again, giving law enforcement new opportunities to track them. And with the relentless progress of forensic technology, even the tiniest clue can lead to an arrest years after the crime took place. The allure of the perfect crime may make for great fiction, but the reality is much more straightforward. It's not just about cleverness or patience, it's about thoroughness. Every potential problem, every obstacle to their success is identified in advance and eliminated. So, before we continue, consider this. What would you do differently? What might you have missed? Because the perfect crime isn't just about getting away with it. It's about getting away with it all, completely and utterly. That means not just leaving the scene of the crime without being caught, but also ensuring that if any evidence does get left behind, it will either implicate someone else or be easily explained away. It means considering not just the physical evidence, but also the potential witnesses and alibis, making sure that everything, absolutely everything adds up, and that there are no loose ends. This level of planning is not just a hallmark of fictional supervillains. It's actually a common feature of real-life crimes, often committed by otherwise ordinary people. Consider the case of the Ponzi scheme, which fooled investors for decades by offering impossibly high returns with payouts coming from the very investors who had already put their money in rather than actual profits. Or the con artist who forged a priceless artifact, spending years building up a backstory and forging documents to support it, only to have their deception revealed when a small detail didn't add up. To truly pull off the perfect crime, you have to think like the detective. You have to anticipate their every move, every possible line of questioning, every potential piece of evidence, and have a ready explanation for it. You have to be able to pass a lie detector test with flying colors, even when the stakes are raised and the questions become more probing. You have to be prepared to disappear without a trace, leaving behind not just your old life, but any and all connections to your new one. Because, let's face it, if there's one thing we know about human nature, it's that we're lazy. Most of us hate change, so we stick to our routines day in and day out. We take the same route to work, order the same coffee at our local cafe, and watch the same shows on our streaming services. Even our friendships tend to fall into the same patterns, seeing the same people at the same places at the same time. This predictability makes our lives easier, but it also makes them more vulnerable. A thief who knows your routine can target you when and where you're most vulnerable. A con artist can exploit your desire for convenience or your trust in authority figures. So if you want to protect yourself against a perfect crime, you have to be willing to disrupt your own patterns, to shake things up and keep your guard up. Because, in the end, the perfect crime is rarely perfect. For every criminal who thought they had covered every angle, there's a detective determined to find a flaw. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes decades, but history has shown that almost no one gets away forever. The perfect crime may be a thrilling story to tell, but in reality, it is a fragile illusion, one that time, persistence, and even pure chance have a way of shattering.